Good evening, everyone. My name is Legislator Richberg, and I want to thank you for tuning in to our conversation on addiction. September is Drug Addiction Recovery Month, and it's important that we have these conversations, and we're not afraid to have these conversations. So I have two great panelists with me today. This is in our one-on-one series, but today it's two-on-one. We have Samantha Mauser from LICAD, and we have Vito from Sober Dudes. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. So Samantha.
Hi, my name is Samantha Mauser. I'm a social worker at the Long Island Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. We are a nonprofit located in both Nassau and Suffolk County. We have been an organization for over 6 years. We help anyone who is struggling with substance use, substance abuse, or mental health concerns. I am the education and prevention coordinator at LICAD. So while we engage in this conversation, you'll start to hear a little bit more about how we can assist, but in the communities, we do both education as well as prevention. So education, we're in over 109 schools across Long Island, doing various presentations on substance use topics as well as mental health topics. In the community, we run a series of workshops. We do both compassion fatigue, especially during COVID-19 times, for all essential workers, for schools, for individuals. And we also run Narcan training for communities, whether it's individually or groups. So that's a little bit about what we have. As we get into the resources, we'll talk more about our Suffolk County 24-hour hotline. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can reach a licensed mental health counselor or a licensed social worker. And we also have our Here Now program, which is free and affordable counseling for essential workers, especially during the pandemic, or affordable when we're outside of the pandemic. So that is a little bit about what we do as an agency. And we'll continue to jump into our resources as we continue this discussion.
Thank you, Samantha. And that counseling is key. I know a lot of folks are going through a lot of stress, a lot of unknowns at this moment in time, especially if you're an essential worker and you're working in a hospital, you're a custodian, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're an orderly, whoever, it's important that you feel like you have an opportunity to reach out and someone who will listen to you. Now, we always don't have people who will listen to us. Vito, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and Sober Dude?
Awesome. Once again, my name's Vito, and I'm very grateful to be here tonight on this. Super amazing to know that there's people that care about this and it doesn't go unseen. So Brian and I created Sober Dudes as a resource page for addicts and alcoholics that didn't know there was help when they're out there struggling with addiction, with alcoholism. We wanted to show that there was help. Now, most of the people we know, because I'm an addict and alcoholic myself, didn't want to reach out to a therapist, didn't want to reach out to the rehab, didn't want to talk to a social worker, didn't want to talk to them because they were afraid. They just wanted to talk to somebody that would meet them halfway and that's been through what they've been through. So we and Brian were like, we're from Long Island. We struggled with addiction since we were 15 years old. And we're like, you know what? Let's create this page to show people that they can call us at 2 o'clock in the morning. They can call us at 4 in the morning. We're going to be there to text back and forth with you. Even if you don't want to get help, we're going to be there for you. So we created this more as like, we look at it as that we wanted to be the Gary V's of sobriety out here and show people that, there's hope, and show people through our message of what we're going through in our life, that we're in recovery, that we're doing this, that we're beating addiction, that we're beating alcoholism, that, if you can't pay your bills, you can't do this, you have mental health problems from everything that's going on in the world, it doesn't matter. If you're not picking up a drink or a drug, we're telling you that it's going to be okay. So we have great passion on what we do on a daily basis. Check our Sober Dudes page. We have a live person on there 24/7 to talk to you. We're just, alcoholics and addicts. We're both members of CA, Cocaine Anonymous, and we're just, we're here 24/7 to talk to people.
Vito, it's great. I mean, I see your videos all the time, and I try and share them when I can. And I think it's important that, sometimes when we're going through something, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's an addiction or a problem or what have you, you feel like you're alone. And how I see you and Brian, and not that Samantha, not that LICAD doesn't do that, but this is like a different thing. It's like, oh, these are real people. Not that we all know, Samantha, you're a real person, but these are real people. These are real, like, oh, I see Vito hanging out with his family. I see Brian with his kids. I can get through it, right? And so you're like the bridge to LICAD, right? So you're like, okay, this is the lighthouse. I could see that person. Okay, now it's okay because they've gone through, Cocaine Anonymous. They're living it. They're struggling with it. Now I can call a LICAT or other hotline to get some help. And so it's great. And thank you guys for the work you do. And the videos, they're sometimes funny, sometimes they're serious, but all the time they're there to educate. So especially now, I remember we were at at one of the ambulance corps in the district, and I had a conversation with one of the chiefs there. And the conversation was about, I said, so how is it going in the middle of this pandemic? Like, how are you guys doing it all? And this is, I want to say it's like April or May. And the chief was saying, we're getting more OD calls, overdosing calls, than we are getting COVID calls. And he said, and we're getting a lot of COVID calls. He said, I don't want you to think that we're not. But he said, we're getting a lot. So addressing the increased rates of overdose rates in Suffolk County, I think during the pandemic, we're at like 40% increase. Can we have a conversation about that? Like, how are you guys seeing, do you guys see an increase in just people reaching out to you? Let's start with that part. Samantha, you want to go first?
Sure. So from LICAD's end, we have seen an increase. Again, it was 40% increase in Suffolk County in overdoses. On our end, we've been able to really ramp up the Narcan training. So anyone who calls, we are able to give them a training over the phone, or we can set up a Zoom session if they would like to do it more in person. And we arrange for either pickup or transportation for a Narcan kit. So if somebody calls, whether it's for an individual, a group, we can set up that Narcan training, train them very quickly. It doesn't have to be something that takes up a lot of their time. If they need it done immediately, we have a staff member who can train them over the phone, and we can get them the kit in order to decrease that overdose rate.
Thank you. Vito, what about you? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, me and Brian, since this coronavirus has started, it's crazy how much our phones have been blowing up, and how many people that I didn't even know had an addiction or an alcoholism problem that's reaching out because they lost their job. They're home with their kids, 4 kids, and they're used to working every day, can't deal with all the struggles, can't pay their mortgage. Now they're turning to the bottle and drinking and all that. So what we were doing, and we were thinking in our minds, is like, we got to keep showing inspirational videos on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram, because we know when people are bored, what do? They go on Facebook, they go on social media. We know that they're surfing. So when our videos are popping up and we're showing people that, like, yo, it's okay. There's hope. Like, you could be happy, be grateful that you have food on your table. Like, little things like that we saw working, and we meet with 10, 15 people a day talking about this, trying to help family members out, trying to help kids out, trying to help adults out. It's gotten really bad, but I know that Brian knows that we wake up every day and we're going to keep showing inspiration, because I think for me, like, I wanted what the person that was sober had when I was using, and I would look at that and be like, one day I'll feel like that, one day I'll feel like that. So I know if I keep putting a smile on my face, keep doing the videos, keep getting in front of people, when we're allowed, start speaking at the high schools again, to the kids and to the families and to the teachers, and let them know that there's hope and that there's help, I know we'll beat this. I have no doubt in my mind that we will get in front of this, and we need more people. We need more people pushing this every day.
Agreed.
Yeah. So.
Agreed. I mean, I think you said something really interesting there. I mean, you both did, but one of the things, Vito, that you said, getting in front of the teachers and the kids and the teachers, right? Because the kids are they have their own type of depression. But I just had a friend of mine. She's a teacher out in New York, and she had a breakdown. She had like a full breakdown, like a Facebook Live breakdown. Talking about the things that she's got to do, and how she has to fake happiness in order just to get through the day. And I get almost under, like, I felt like there was a time when you see these videos where you feel people's pain. And so you're right.
What I'm saying is, like, the teachers, the family member, the older person that doesn't really have an issue, but's having issues through all this, might see that video and might be like, okay, maybe I'll just reach out and say hi and see what's going on, because that can lead to more. You get it. It's crazy what's going on, and people don't realize that you need to talk about it.
Right. And Samantha, what you just said about the Narcan training was interesting too, because, how many people have you guys trained over the last couple of months? Because I know there's been a lot with Narcan training.
Yeah, so we've done community Narcan trainings where we have a whole group come outside somewhere, whether it be at a beach, a park, and we're able to train 40, 50 people at a time, all socially distanced, wearing masks, and we're able to really spread the engagement that way. We've also had, on average, maybe 50 people individually reach out, need to be Narcan trained, have it with them because a lot of loved ones have moved home. So whether they need to keep it in the house, have it on hand with them at all time. We've really seen an increase of individuals reaching out and saying, I never thought I would need it, but now I do. So can I please be trained? The Narcan trainings are completely free of charge. And again, we'll arrange either pickup or drop off for the individuals.
And Suffolk County, I believe it was Legislator Hahn, my colleague Legislator Hahn, made sure that there's a Narcan bag in every police car, because there was a point in time where, I mean, they were going every night, some houses just over and over and over again. And I think it saved some people's lives, and it almost saved families, because, hey, if I'm breaking up out this bag, we have to have this conversation, right? There's no longer, like, if I have to bring you back to life, we have to talk, right? And sometimes I think we're afraid, and I guess you both can talk to this. Like, sometimes we're afraid to have those conversations. So how can we? I know we have a whole bunch of things to talk about, but how could we start that conversation? I don't know how to talk to my friend about their dependence or their addiction. How do I start that?
So part of what LICAT also does is family service. So a lot of times we'll have family members call and say, well, I don't know how to address this. I don't know how to have the conversation. And the one thing that we'll always tell families is the problem didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. So starting the conversation very light, in a way that you're showing the person that you care for them, but you're worried for them. So it doesn't need to be defensive. A family member doesn't need to attack each other. It needs to be an open conversation about, we're here for you and we will help you. And there are places like LICAT or other agencies that have individuals who are professionals that can help get you to the next step when and if you are ready.
So Vito, what do you do? Like, what's your?
So, I mean, listen, I think each case is different. So I also say, like, I going off what she said, I agree with her. Coming at an addict or coming out an alcoholic and being like, you did this wrong, this is wrong, you need to go get help, you need to go do this, is not going to work. Because I know for me, when that was done to me during my addiction, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, get away. I'm going to do my own thing. I got this. It's Vito's Anonymous, and it's not anymore. And I get that, it's Alcohol Anonymous for a reason. Like, but I also know that families need to understand that they get wrapped up in this very much so too, because it's a family disease when there's an addict and an alcoholic. They need to know that you need to call a professional to help. And we do this. We go down and sit with families also, that a family could be enabling the addict and the alcoholic, and that can cause them to keep using. Because I know for me, my parents were my lifeline during my addiction. I knew how to enable them for money. I knew how to keep them going so I could have a roof over my head. But if my mom and dad had someone to talk to steer them the right way, maybe I would have gotten help a little earlier. Who knows? But I'm here by God's grace, thank God, and I'm able to, show the vision to the families.
I mean, and that's important, right? I think saying that, sometimes everybody thinks, Samantha, you said, it's not going to go away in a day, right? People think, oh, it's like it's a movie, oh, well, I had a conversation with Vito and, he's changed. That's it. No, it's like, it's a process, right? If it was only that easy, right? Superman doesn't just come and lift the train and stop the train, all the problems go away. And it's a process to get through. And to say that we're enabling. So what type of enabling behaviors should we be looking out that we could be doing unknowingly?
So the enabling for like a family member with an addict and alcoholic, you're trying to say, like that?
Yeah.
It's like, I know like 80% of the people and the kids and the families that I meet is like, they're paying their bills. They're helping them with their car payment. They're giving them food. They're giving them shelter. They're letting them stay in their house. They're letting them use in their house because they're afraid their kid or the loved one's going to die if he's out on the streets. Which I do agree, it could happen. But I look at it as like, if you keep enabling and giving money and they keep using, and it's not heroin anymore. It's fentanyl. It's hard stuff that you could do the littlest amount now and die, the littlest amount. And to me, that's scary. And I just tell these families, and I get real. Brian gets real with the families because we were in the gutters. We've been through it, and I always bring it back to that because I know the feelings and the emotions around it. And I would hate to see a family keep enabling their kid to death, because that's what could happen. And I hate to be so real, and I'm sorry, but I have passion about this.
I think we have to have this conversation. I mean, we can't. You just said we have to be real, right? So we can't tiptoe around. Hey, this is life or death here. Samantha, what do you think?
So I think Vito made a great point. Right now, monetary value is really the most common way that we see parents enable either their child or adult, especially with giving them money to go and buy and use. So that is something that we typically see, especially when they are younger or in the adolescent phase, when you can't exactly tell them to get out and be on their own, and you do need to somewhat care for them. And that's why typically also we meet with the family aside from being with the individual. So we'll see the parents, we'll see the individual. Sometimes there will be family sessions, but it's really important that you speak to the individual who is struggling alone as well, because sometimes they don't realize that they're being enabled.
It's a process.
And go ahead. Go ahead, Vito.
No, I just coming off what she's saying. It's a process, and honestly, it's case by case, and you just don't know, like really what the family dynamic is, and you have to figure that out. And that's why, like she's saying, that we bring the families in for family session. We also take the addict and the alcoholic to the side and talk to them. Those are all important things. That's why you can't, as a family member, or if you have a loved one struggling, you can't do this alone. You need professional help to help you through it.
Agreed. And I think what you're both saying here is it's a multi-pronged approach, right? You can't just talk to the addict, and you can't just talk to the family members, and you got to do both. And then you got to have like a community system in place, right, in order to move forward. So I guess it's regulating yourself. It's understanding that, am I giving my son or my daughter an allowance, and are they blowing it at it used to be the video game terminal, but it's not that anymore, right? But where's that money going, right?
Right.
And I guess we've had for the last 10 plus years here in this district office, be it myself or the Legislator Gregory, we had a youth caucus, and we would have parents come in and say, "Hey, I don't know what's going on with my kid. Well, are you having a conversation? What are they spending their money on?" Right? And I think that's the secondary part of the conversation. It's not really just an addiction conversation. It's knowing what's going on with your kid, right? Or your family member, right? If Uncle John is leaving every day, but he doesn't have a job, well, where is he going? Who is he going with, right? Especially in this pandemic, you definitely need to know who you're in contact with, right? So, and then, I have two of my friends in college, two people I went to school with, over the holidays, so almost right before Christmas, they overdosed. And they were in California, and the story is that it was three friends, and they were doing drugs, and somebody bought something, and it ended up being laced with fentanyl. So it's definitely close to home, and they were found dead, and two of them were found dead, and the third person, because the officer only had one Narcan kit, was able to save the one closest to the door. Ironically, he's the one who brought the fentanyl to the party.
Oh.
So, right. So, and now you had two families, and when I say families, the full families, like upset, about what was going on and not having those conversations. And these were two of the most talented people I've ever met. Literally, most talented people. But the community system. So, how do we, having community systems to address the needs of young people, especially in the age of social distancing, how do we do that?
So right now, what we're seeing really is just being able to be active while being safe. So a lot of outdoor time when the weather is nice, any form of virtual communication. So especially with the adolescents that we're seeing, as much time as we try to tell them to stay off of electronics, really being proactive, setting up Zoom sessions with your friends to stay engaged, participating in healthy coping skills, whether it's mindful eating, any form of mindfulness, yoga, drawing, coloring, really just keeping them engaged right now is the most important thing.
Vito, what are your thoughts?
Like what you think what we're doing now during like the pandemic and stuff, and how there's help for people during that, or like the people that are trying to stay sober, what are the things they could do? Is that what you're trying to say?
So sort of both. And like, how do I help my children, stay sane, but also stay away from addictive behaviors? Because we all know that you are just one medicine cabinet away from being an addict in some cases, right?
Right. I think just coming off what she said, it's very good. You gotta keep your mental health going. You need to do physical stuff. If that's just going to take a walk every day, keeping your mind going, the gym's open back up, getting into the gyms, stuff like that is all important. But I also I want to bring a point up that like family members, like the virus, I don't know what to do, all this, the addicts, like the virus is going, all this, like addiction kills just as much as the virus was hurting people. Addiction got worse when the virus hit. Fentanyl to me is like, it's a death sentence. Heroin's a death sentence. Using drugs is a death sentence. So it's like, you need to know that no matter what's going on in the world, like if I have to go meet up with somebody in recovery to talk and I'm over 5 years sober, even though the coronavirus is going, I'm going to sit in my car and talk across from him face to face, not in my car, him in his car. Like, and I've done that during the coronavirus. You need to do what you need to do to stay sober every day, whatever's going on in the world, because things are going to happen every day.
Right. And you get home and you're upset, you have a tough day at work, and then you look back at your bar or your whatever, and you say, I just need a whatever. And so that's self-medication. So, and self-medication obviously can be alcohol and marijuana. And so how do we stop those unhealthy coping systems? How do we negate that? How do we go from staying away from alcohol to, hey, I'm upset, I'm tired, I need to run?
Right. So unfortunately, at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a huge spike in alcohol and liquor sales because liquor stores were deemed essential and they were all open. So when individuals did feel like they needed to get out, that was one place that was open. A lot of our calls that we were getting were individuals struggling with alcohol. And then kind of playing off of that, a lot of the detoxes and inpatients were very full or restrictive. So it was very difficult to kind of help individuals understand that the liquor store isn't the first place we need to go. There are people that you can call, places that you can go. AA was running virtual. Groups at LICAD were running virtual, at Thrive, which is a recovery center on Long Island, we're all running virtual at any time of the day to pick up that phone and reach out for help. Like Vito was saying, if you need to meet in a parking lot, that's what you do. And really just knowing your resources and understanding that there are individuals out there that you can reach out to in those times of need.
And I think this just comes back to, and coming off what you're saying also, is that like, we need more people that are like pushing recovery, that are pushing that there's help. We need more people in our community out here in Long Island in a whole that, been through this, that are beating addiction, beating alcoholism, that are getting out there and showing people like, you can call me anytime, there's hope, like this is what I'm doing today. Like, show that message, because the more people out here doing what we're doing right now, the three of us talking about it and putting it out on social media, this might help somebody right now, knowing that there's something to help. That's more of this needs to be happening, especially during the virus with things shutting down, because people like I still, some days I'm like, oh my God, I just wish I didn't have to wear a mask today. I just wish I didn't have to do this. Wish I didn't have to walk on the treadmill with a mask on. This is crazy. But, I know now, because I've been in it for a while, that I'm grateful that I'm even able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And you got to remind yourself that before you're like, get home, rough day at work, kids are screaming in the background, wife is mad at you because you were late, that you hit trap, whatever it was, right? That you don't need to pick that bottle up. You can call somebody. They could talk to you, because that second when you want to drink or use can go away within 30 seconds if you talk to somebody about it. So you just got to know that.
And I think what you're saying is the difference between the words want and need, right? I think a lot of times we have these conversations that I want or I need, right? I want to feel better. I don't need to drink. I don't go home and say, I need a drink. No, I don't. I don't need a drink. I need to deal with whatever's going, because when I have a drink, it's escaping whatever I'm dealing with, right? If I don't want to, and that's with almost anything. And you need to feel, it's a need to feel better. When you're doing drugs or you're doing alcohol, you're trying to escape, and I think it's a vocabulary twist. Understanding when you go to reach for something to feel better, it's about saying, is that a want or is that a need? Do I want to buy new sneakers or do I need to buy new sneakers, right?
Right.
Do I want a Ferrari or do I need a Ferrari? No, you need a car. You don't need a Ferrari, right?
You sound
Just
like my
kid.
my sponsor.
Oh, really? Right? You need a shirt. It doesn't have to be a Gucci shirt, right? It's the way we have to have those conversations and just remind ourselves. And I think the other thing, it's grounding, like finding that one person, be it your sponsor, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a friend of yours, to say, okay, hey, can you bring me back to what I really need to focus on? My needs versus I want. I think that's important. I have friends who I know, there's some friends, if I'm angry, I don't call that friend, because that's the hype angry friend. That's the one that, yeah, you should be angry, right? But you need the friend who's going to calm you down and chill you out and bring you back to whatever. And then you could process, right? And I think that's the other thing. So how important is it about processing what we're dealing with? Like how important is that?
So I'll kind of jump in first on this one. Something that I found really great to be during the pandemic was the Here Now program that LICAD was able to create with Suffolk County. We have free counseling for essential workers and first responders, and affordable counseling for the general public. A lot of what we were seeing was individuals didn't know they need help. So the burnout from being on the front line and seeing everything that we've been dealing with these past 6 months, even just having that first session, we had a lot of individuals say, I just feel so much relief already. I didn't know that I needed to talk and take care of myself and put myself first. So really just having that open conversation, having a sounding board. We really do a lot of solution-focused counseling, but it can also just be about how the week was and how you were able to get through the week and stay sober or clean, or even just be able to find those healthy coping skills that work for you and have someone to really bounce those ideas off of.
So you go back to that word, the need, right? I need to deal with something. I don't need to escape. I want to escape, but I need to deal. Go ahead, Vito.
No, so Samantha, you hit everything dead on with that, with what we were talking about and stuff. And it's just like, and the wants and needs, it's great. Like it's such a big thing, but like, you don't need to pick up a drink. You don't need to pick up a drug. You want to feel better because you have anxiety, you have depression, you had a crappy day at work, whatever it was, right? But it's finding that outlet that gets you away from that. It's finding that person to talk to. It's finding, hey, maybe I just need to go in the backyard and chop some wood, whatever it is to take your mind off things. Like for me, it's an hour a day where I go to the gym and put my music on and I get to escape. Whatever that looks like, you need to find that so you don't need to pick up that drink or drug.
And something healthy, right?
Correct.
Whatever, right. You don't want to just go in, I need to go for a drive, be angry and go for a drive at 100 miles per hour on the Southern State, right? Try and run 100 miles per hour on the treadmill. That's right. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And what happens is with addicts and alcoholics and with addiction and all that is that like we as addicts and alcoholics, we take other addictions. We get the drink and the drug away from us. Then we start overeating. Then we start going to the gym too much. Then these old things that you need to watch. And I know this is stuff I need to deal with till the day I die, because this is how you stay sober, right? I look at it as this is how I'm going to stay sober each day. So it's like, yeah, you don't need to if you get in the car and drive 100 miles per hour, you're going to kill yourself or kill somebody else. Like you don't need to do that. But if you go try to run 100 miles per hour, let's do that. That's good. That feels good, right? Let's try to get that exercise. So I agree with you.
So we talked about healthy coping skills for individuals and families, but as a community, what should we be doing more of? Together, right? I think we all agree that we need to have more conversations like this, but what else do we need?
I think, and Samantha, maybe you can back me on this, is that once we can, I think we need to be having events in the communities. We need to invite everybody out. We need to speak upon all this to the communities and hold massive events during this. That's what I think.
So part of what LACHEAD's education team did prior to COVID was we had professional development or events, our addictions conference that we hold every year. We are working on doing those things virtual. We're always looking for individuals to get involved, speak, whether it be on different topics or just really join and listen. It's something that we spread throughout the community. We hold other events. Compassion fatigue has been our biggest one during the past 6 months because it really addresses burnout, coping skills, self-care, mindfulness. And that's something that we've been holding a ton of for Suffolk County. We can continue to schedule them going forward. It really just gives individuals an hour to focus on themselves and to realize that they're not alone in the struggle that they're facing, whether it's addiction, mental health concerns, or just general anxiety during such uncertain times.
And I think you said something else that was very interesting there, that, putting yourself first. I think I had this conversation with someone. I don't know, Samantha, if you have children, and Vito, I don't know if you have, but, the idea of putting yourself first for an hour is scary, right? Especially if you have a newborn at home. I have two 2-year-old boys, so the time that I can put
I get it.
You have how long? How old?
8 months. 8 months.
So you're not sleeping. Like you're just,
no, not at all.
You're not sleeping. So, but I think the idea, and you can definitely empathize with this, the idea of putting yourself first for that hour, you're like, no, I don't want to put myself first. I want to sleep, right? Because she's 8, your child is 8 months old. Like, no, but we're rotating who's staying up, right? So, but I think especially, for new parents or for folks who are used to shouldering so much, burden. When we talk about those essential workers, they're usually the folks who are taking a lot of the load for the rest of the family, for whatever it is. And that could be a mother or father. It could be the son or the aunt or the uncle, whoever it is. They're taking the load and they're not used to putting themselves first.
Right.
Because they feel if they do that, something else is going to fall. It's the I forgot the Titan's name who's holding the world up. But it's the idea that if I rest my arm, the whole world is going to fall.
Right. It seems almost foreign to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. and why is that, right? Mm-hmm. Why is that? I mean, I don't know if that's a question or a rhetorical question. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I think it's for me too. Like I feel like I always I got to do. I want to carry this message every day. I want to do all this. My daughter, I got her to bed, like all this stuff going on. But I always try now to have that hour for Vito, and whatever that is. For me, it's like meditation. I try to at least do 30 minutes of meditation before I go to sleep. No matter if my daughter is kicking and screaming and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm looking at the monitor, I'm like, oh no, but it doesn't matter because I know if I don't do that hour or half hour for Vito, that I can't show up for her the next day. I can't show up for the people that need me the next day. So self-care, that word self-care is so important.
I was having this. I was having this conversation with colleagues also. If there's something great that has come out of the past 6 months is this whole virtual world and technology. So yes, it's unfortunate that we can't do as many in-person events as we wanted, but we also have the benefit of being able to log into something from wherever we are, or to just turn it on our phones or our iPads or our computers if we're fortunate enough to have something that we can take on the go. You can put in those headphones and listen to something, even if it's for a half hour while we're doing something else. So something that we've been able to put out also is pre-recorded videos, even for schools and communities, where at your leisurely time, you can sign on or you can log in and listen to something that might give you that half hour or hour of self-care.
And Samantha, just coming off what you said, that's why also we have a SoberTube TV that's on our Instagram, that we have all those videos for addicts and alcoholics, that maybe that 20 minutes, 15 minutes of logging onto that might help that person. And then people don't realize. So if you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning and your mind's going, the different states now, you can go on to different AA meetings, different time zones now, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the first things I was looking for, just because knowing the church that I go to, we have an AA meeting that happens in our church, right? It happens on a Wednesday and a Friday. And the first thing I was thinking is, where are these people going, right? Because once everything locked down, that was like one of my fears. Like my fear is that, I know these folks are depending on those 2 days or 1 day a week to get together and have those conversations. So we had put out, these are the places where you could find help. No one knew. I knew, fellow legislators, all of us were trying to sort of get through this at the same time, and I agree. You have the ability to go to almost anything worldwide right now, and we have to take advantage of that. And then I can tell Samantha, as you said, you're a social worker, right?
Yes, I am.
So my wife is a mental health counselor, and the conversation that we have all the time, and she's like, the worst people who shoulder all the blame are social workers, mental health counselors, psychiatrists, right? Because they carry everybody else's weight, and it's the same thing. Learning how to put it first. And she's the first one to tell you, it's hard. It's very, very hard. But it's easier with people like the two of you. Go ahead, Samantha. You were going to say something?
I was going to say 100%. And that's why we've really pushed this counseling for essential workers and first responders, because you don't realize how much of the burden you're really holding.
You're right. And so the world is easier. I know you guys feel like you guys are doing a lot, and you're probably tired at the end of the day, but I'll say thank you for everybody out there, because I'm sure that you have both, with your organizations, your videos, your trainings, I'm sure that you both have made a difference. And, it might seem hard, but we're all in this together, right? It doesn't matter which side you live on, what community you live on, your political spectrum. If we don't start having these conversations, it won't matter. If we don't start talking about putting ourselves first for an hour a day, understanding that if you've done everything that you were supposed to do, you fed your daughter the whole time. This is directly for you. If you fed her, if she's fine, you did all the things, you can put her down in the crib and walk away, right? But you feel horrible about it.
Hard.
Yes, you feel hard and you feel horrible and you feel like you're the worst person in the world that I've done it, right? But it's okay, right? And it's the same thing. You have to put yourself first, and you have to relax, and you have to relax. And I want to thank you both. I want to thank LICAT. I want to thank Sober Dudes, but more importantly, I want to thank the two of you for coming on. We had about 30 some odd minutes of great conversation. I know we could go on for another 2 hours, but I think the most important thing is let's keep this conversation going, because I think in a couple of months, it's going to be Thanksgiving, and that's one of those times where we have a conversation with our interns, where that's one of the number 1 or 2 holidays where there's, drug dependence. And then obviously we all know the other one right after that is New Year's. So, I think we should keep this conversation going. And I want to thank everybody out there. Actually, I should ask Mike, do we have any questions? I don't think we do. Okay.
No specific questions, no.
Okay. So thank you, and thank you to Mike Madia on our staff for being our tech guy. I'm going to give you both the opportunity to close out and give your closing remarks. We started with Samantha, so we'll go with Vito, and then we'll end with Samantha. Go ahead, Vito.
Again, for having us on here. Really, really appreciate Brian. Are super grateful. We just want to let everybody know out there in the world and Facebook and everything that, Brian and I structured our lives to help addicts and alcoholics and people dealing with mental health. And we just want to let you know from the bottom of our hearts that we are here to talk 24/7 to you guys. Our website, soberdudesny.com. Please check it out. There's a live stream person to speak to you on that. Also on Facebook, for the families, we have something called Families of the Addicted. For moms, dads, parents that are going through it, that don't know what to do with their son, you can also go on there. We have a live parent for you to talk 24/7. We appreciate it, and God bless everybody.
Thank you. Samantha.
I want to thank everyone for who logged on today. I want to, again, kind of reiterate what Vito said. We do also have a 24-hour hotline. You can call, give your information, or it can be completely anonymous. LICAT also has a ton of services. Our website is licadd.org. And we also have our hotline information on there. If you're interested in a compassion fatigue workshop, if you're interested in a Narcan training, please feel free to reach out any time of the day. Our hotline is 24 hours. And if there's anything that anybody ever needs, you can always reach out.
So I want to thank LICAT and Sober Dudes for coming together for this. You have two great resources. So technically, you have 48 hours worth of resources here in Suffolk County between these two organizations. And listen, we're going to record this video. It's being recorded actually right now, and then we're going to put it up there. Well, it's going to be up there in perpetuity because, and we're going to put the information to both of your organizations on our Facebook page. And we want everybody to come in, like it, share it, have the conversations, talk about who you are and how important it is, but more importantly, putting yourself first for an hour a day. All right. So thank you very much. And thank you to the folks at home.
Thank you. God bless, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.